Hi guys, I just wanted to make my kind of like last analysis on this iPad boat video. Um, some of the stuff I'll mention has already been covered and some uh, hasn't. I'll be comparing some of the video to some of the real world events that have been happening, just to show you the comparison between this video and what's happening in the world. So the first thing I wanted to point out, as I said, I've already pointed out some of these things. I'm just reiterating it, going over it again. So down here in the snow, you've got the 1 and the 1, the 11, and then over here in the snow, you've got the 3. On the dog's head here, because the line draws across the body and the head is on the side of the board, you've got the 3 that's made up out of the dog's head. The numbers in the word wolf add up to 23. When it's W is 23, O and O are 15, and F is 6. So that's 2, 3, 1, 5, 6, 23 is also 11. Military time wise, in the background here, that represents the 9/11 towers, so pointing towards the video associated with 9/11, possibly foreshadowing a second 9/11 event. They also stand up in 2 straight lines, which could also represent the number 11. The goat's head divides into 3. 3 and 11, you know what I mean, all over the video there, right in the opening scene. Whether that means that something's going to happen on that date, or whether that means it's the countdown and the start to what's going to happen and things are going to happen after that date, I can't tell you, but I think it's significant enough to mention. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover here in the opening scene, so let's move on. The next thing I want to point out is the hangman on the board. I believe this particular scene here is pointing towards electricity, so there being either a problem with the electricity or there being some sort of shortage. We've got like a lightning symbol down here. We've got the electrical outlet down here that doesn't have any electric socket in it, which has been covered in another video as well. And I've also stated that I believe that this hangman actually is drawn to look like a broken circuit as well. And when you look at the actual, like the drawings of hangman, we've all played it. None of us draw a box here to hang the man from. It's always a flat line, a platform, 2D platform. As you can see in all these iterations, some are different, but most of them have the straight line rather than the box. So I believe the box is purposely drawn to make it look like a circuit. You know, this being the battery, this being a motor, or whatever it is, the switch, and then we're missing the actual connection that goes around to the motor, or 2 X's in the eyes as well. That kind of looks like dead battery. So that's another point I wanted to just make clear. In this scene here, I believe that this is depicting is North Korea and South Korea, but I believe over here we do have South Korea, but I believe this chain of tanks is China coming in. 2 reasons for that is because, one, this is the yin and yang circle, which is associated with China. We have the yin outside of the circle, leaving only the yang within the circle as it forms. And the second is the line of tanks that are there, which is directly reminiscent to Tiananmen Square, where the protesters stood in front of the tanks. it's a pretty amazing moment to have one guy just standing in front of these fearsome tanks, machinery. They could easily run over him, but they don't. They try and go around him. He doesn't allow it. And basically, I believe that that is a direct correlation to the Chinese. So the Chinese coming in from North Korea into South Korea is what I believe this image is depicting. But it doesn't appear that they're gonna stop, so they just continue on. So also part of that scene, I'll come back to it. So this is the next part I wanted to go on to, which is what looks like a miner or some sort of worker, drowning in this green gunge or fluid, which is reminiscent of nuclear material. I'll just play that quickly. But before I continue with just playing that part of the scene, if you notice over here, notice his eyes as they were kind of looking up and then they kind of shifted down. They were focusing this way and over here in the light. So the light is here and it encompasses this part and comes round and encompasses him as well. So in the light we have the one and the one again. You could call that coincidental, but considering it's drawn pretty much the same way in the beginning of the scene, I think that might actually be relevant, especially since his eye direction is over here and it's illuminated by the light as well. So we've got 11, and then on his beard here, if I play it a bit more, might be a bit clearer. There we go. So on his beard here, we have the number 3 as well. So again, we've got 11 and 3 appearing in the same scene. And then, just to play it a little bit further, we have the hammer and sickle, or hammer and scythe. Even though this guy is kind of portrayed to be, of South American kind of Mexican heritage, and especially since he's got Juanita loves Juan or Jose on his arm, Mexico doesn't have anything really to do with hammer and sickle as a symbol, but Russia does, and the symbol is also adopted by China, Vietnam, and North Korea. Now, in recent news, you may have heard already that there was a collapse at their nuclear test site, and it left 200 dead, 100 initially who were working. So sources in North Korea told the news channel that a tunnel being excavated by around 100 workers at the Pyongyang test site collapsed earlier this month, and an additional 100 laborers were sent to rescue their colleagues, were reportedly killed when the tunnel suffered a second collapse. So that's depicting workers. Well, the news report there is workers have, been killed in a tunnel collapse. And then when we look at the iPad Goat video, we've got what is assumed to be a worker because of the hammer and sickle drowning in what looks like nuclear material. And that kind of compares to these workers being buried alive at this nuclear test site. I think there was one more thing I wanted to point out about the scene. Oh yeah, of course. And basically, when you do, just to show you guys, when you do look up a North Korea Workers' Party, their symbol on their flag, Workers' Party, yeah, the symbol on their flag, they've got the hammer on the side there, as well as a candle, but that's not actually reflected in the iPad video. We've got the hammer on the side there, someone drowning in nuclear material, and then news reports of, North Koreans dying in a tunnel collapse at the nuclear test site. So the next scene I wanted to come on to, associating it with real world events, is the Statue of Liberty here. And that's kind of like partial collapse. So in that scene there, we don't actually see the Statue of Liberty collapse, but we see the torch that lights the way collapsing, kind of symbolizing the, let me start again. The Statue of Liberty is obviously a symbol for the United States of liberty and freedom and stuff like that. So the torch kind of is a symbol to light the way to liberty and freedom. And that torch has been extinguished in this video. We then go on to a weird event that I put up yesterday, which is Wendy Williams collapsing dressed as the Statue of Liberty. And I believe that there's symbolism all over that personally. And just watch.
Halloween costume contest. We do it every year. It's always a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress.
So notice how that all happened. Obviously, he's dressed as the Statue of Liberty. She collapses, and then it all went dark, and that's also reminiscent to the scene that we see here, kind of as it collapses, it shifts into another scene, much dark. So that's another comparison I want to make, and this is the next comparison, which is the skeleton figure here. We've got him kind of like, this is in the scene with the Chinese moving across the DMZ into South Korea, and then you've got this kind of figure which is similar to the figure of the figures that they use for the celebration, the Day of the Dead. As you can see here, the guy's wearing a hat. He's got flowers in it. He's got a cigar in his mouth. You know, I don't see no diamond ring on his finger, but you know, even the lines, the black lines on his face as well, are strikingly similar to this figure here, who's also wearing a hat. He has a flower in his hair, or in his hat rather, sorry, and he's got I can't remember what these things are called, but you know, the party thing that you blow on and it makes a sound like fireworks and New Year's Eve and stuff like that. So he's basically got the same things there, which is why I believe that this is kind of representing two days, if you will. So you've got the Day of the Dead, which is on the 2nd of November, and some other countries like the UK are celebrating it on the 3rd of November. And then you've got the fireworks in the background, which is the 5th of November. So I don't know if that's telling us in some sort of way, maybe between these two dates, possibly. That could be the 3rd or the 4th. I've already covered the 3rd, possibly. The 4th is the whole Antifa thing going on, the Blackout EMP event going on, or their drill, as we'll say. It's just a drill, they say, but you know, the real thing could happen during the drill, as some people suspect, and then nothing could happen. But I think it's worth letting you guys know that these things are out there, so you can go, you can judge, you can watch, you can come up with your own assumptions. But you know, even the Boy Scouts say it, you always be prepared. You can't just walk through life blindly accepting that you'll be safe. Whether that's, you know, a hurricane event where 1 minute you got your house and everything, next minute it's gone. You know, the California wildfires, 1 minute it's there, your house is there, next minute it's gone, your whole life has changed. Puerto Rico, you know, 1 minute you got electricity, next minute you don't, and you're worrying where you're going to get water from, where you're going to get food from. You know, 1 minute you're at work, next minute a plane flies into your building, you know, and there's 2,000 of you dead. So people out there who think that sitting comfortably in their houses, that nothing will happen or nothing will ever happen, historically you've already been proven wrong.